The aviation industry secrets that no one has ever told you. I believe that the water on airplanes is contaminated with bacteria several times more than the permissible level, or flight attendants still use their phones during flights, and tray tables are the dirtiest places on the plane. These are the secrets in the aviation industry that flight attendants are forced to keep confidential, not to disclose to the public. Join me in the following video to uncover the hidden secrets of the aviation industry. There are many things that will undoubtedly surprise you. Number 25. Life vests are often stolen. Life vests located under each seat can be stolen, so passengers should check before the plane takes off to ensure their safety. There have been cases of passengers being fined for stealing life vests for their children's swimming lessons or considering them as souvenirs to take home. Therefore, it's advisable to check beforehand to be prepared for any incident. Number 24. Ashtrays are often placed in airplane restrooms. Although the AIA banned smoking on airplanes from the early 2000s, restrooms on planes are still equipped with ashtrays. This is because despite the no-smoking policy and numerous prominent no-smoking signs, there are still cases of passengers secretly smoking in the restrooms. Hence, ashtrays help prevent fires in case passengers accidentally discard cigarettes or trash in them. However, if you're flying, it's recommended not to smoke. Sometimes a single cigarette can lead to unexpected incidents for the aircraft. Number 23. Flight delays also affect the entire crew. The flight crew, including pilots and flight attendants, only get paid when the airplane's doors are closed. Each airline has different salary policies, but most follow this rule to save labor costs. The time they spend on the ground is not counted towards their salary. The only thing airlines compensate for is a small fee for each hour flight attendants stay at the airport. This means that if the flight is delayed or canceled, the staff does not get paid. Therefore, sometimes flight attendants suffer more losses than passengers. Number 22. Morning flights are better than evening flights. There are several reasons why you should choose morning flights over evening ones. Statistics show that early morning flights are less likely to be delayed compared to afternoon or evening flights. Similar to roads, airways also experience congestion, with delays starting around 8 a.m. every day and worsening, reaching a peak around 6 p.m. Moreover, in the morning, airplanes are less likely to encounter turbulence in the air because most thunderstorms and adverse weather conditions typically occur in the afternoon or evening. Although waking up early to arrange luggage may be a bit challenging, the safety and affordability make it a worthwhile choice. Number 21. Small holes on airplane windows. As the plane ascends, air pressure decreases. The external air pressure is significantly lower than the inside of the airplane, causing various harmful physical effects on the airplane windows. Airplane windows consist of 3 separate glass panels: outer, middle, and inner. A tiny hole in the middle glass is known as the breathing hole, helping balance the air pressure between the passenger cabin and the small space between the middle and outer glass. This means the outer glass bears the brunt of the pressure, while the middle glass serves as a safety backup. The innermost glass doesn't bear pressure, but protects the middle and outer glasses from potential damage caused by passengers. The breathing hole also releases moisture, preventing the window from fogging up. So, while seemingly harmless, the small hole in airplane windows plays a crucial role in flight. Number 20. Aircraft restrooms can be opened from the outside. Aircraft restrooms often have an additional lock hidden behind the no smoking sign. You can lift it and push the latch to unlock the door from the outside. This design is to ensure safety in the event of someone passing away, being injured, or staying inside for too long without response. Flight attendants can open the restroom door to address the situation from the outside. Number 19. Pilots sleep while controlling the airplane. According to a survey of 43 to 54% of pilots in Norway, the United Kingdom, and Sweden, they admit to sleeping while in control of the aircraft. Experienced flight attendant Tracy Christoph mentioned that pilots are scheduled for rest time during long flights. However, in reality, even while on duty, they inadvertently doze off during controlled rest. Pilots sleep in the cockpit alternatively with bunk rest. They're allowed to leave the cockpit and use the crew rest area or the secret sleeping area designated for the crew. Certain principles are established when pilots take rest during flights. For example, controlled rest must be discussed by both pilots and only one is allowed to sleep while the other stays awake. When in controlled rest, pilots sleep in their seats, which must be reclined far back from the control panel. So you don't need to wonder if pilots sleep during long flights. Number 18. The primary source of air on the airplane comes from the engines. As you may know, as altitude increases, the air becomes thinner and the pressure increases sharply. Additionally, airplane doors are usually tightly sealed with no gaps. So where do dozens of people on the plane get the air to breathe for hours? As the plane ascends, the air becomes thinner, so the airplane needs an air supply system to ensure sufficient oxygen for passengers at a pressure similar to that on the ground. The main air supply for modern commercial airplanes comes from the engines. Outside air is drawn in and compressed through various stages to serve the combustion process that generates thrust for the aircraft. Therefore, the risk of virus transmission during air travel is quite low. External air is drawn into the plane, heated, pressurized, and filtered for viruses and bacteria before mixing with cabin air and distributing throughout the compartment. Number 17. Airplane oxygen masks provide enough air to breathe for about 15 minutes. Airplane oxygen masks only provide enough oxygen for one person for approximately 12 to 20 minutes, with an average of around 15 minutes. This number may make some people uneasy because 15 minutes seems too short. However, in emergency situations, it takes pilots from 10 to 20 minutes to descend to a breathable altitude or locate and land at the nearest airport. The crucial point is to know how to use the mask. You must act quickly when the mask drops from above your head, because you might face danger if there's no oxygen to breathe within 30 seconds. When the airplane cabin lacks oxygen, passengers may experience headaches, confusion, and a risk of unconsciousness. So, wearing the oxygen mask quickly is essential. Additionally, an interesting fact about airplane oxygen masks that few people know is that they're not connected to an oxygen tank or any external oxygen supply. These masks are connected to a chemical compound that releases oxygen when burned. Flight attendants often emphasize pulling the mask down forcefully when wearing it, as this action triggers the chemical reaction to burn the mixture, creating oxygen for breathing. Once the oxygen mask is activated, the chemical reaction will continue until the entire compound is burned, lasting from 12 to 20 minutes. As I mentioned, now you understand the importance of receiving instructions on how to wear the oxygen mask before each flight, don't you? Number 16. The captain and the first officer do not eat the same meal. The practice of captains and first officers not sharing the same meal may sound peculiar, but it follows a mandatory principle. Aviation is a unique profession requiring courage and high discipline to face and handle any dangerous situation. Many commercial airlines have specific regulations for pilots. For instance, when two pilots share the cockpit, they are provided with different meals to minimize the risk of food poisoning. This unusual rule aims to ensure safety and reduce the possibility of both pilots being affected in case of food poisoning. In the event that one pilot is affected, the other can still carry out the mission and complete the flight. This precaution becomes crucial in scenarios where both meals might be contaminated, posing a challenge to the flight. It's worth noting that pilots are often advised to avoid consuming raw food such as seafood before and during flights to maintain optimal health. Number 15. Flight attendants still use their phones. While the use of mobile devices is restricted for passengers during takeoff and landing, flight attendants continue to use them normally. The impact of using phones on the plane is minimal. It's only necessary to turn them off during takeoff and landing because at these times the flight crew constantly communicates with ground control stations, monitoring altitude, speed, and other critical parameters to ensure the safe operation of the aircraft. Phone signals during these times can cause inaccuracies in data and communication. Number 14. The aircraft accident rate is extremely low. Despite many people's fear of flying, the annual average aircraft accident rate is 1 in 11 million. If you were to fly once a day, statistically, you would have to fly for about 10,000 years before encountering a rare accident. A 1999 study even suggested that flying is safer than being admitted to a hospital. Worldwide, there are at least 98,000 deaths each year due to medical errors comparatively, with a 1 in 5,000 chance of dying in a car accident. The sky indeed seems safer, so don't worry about the plane crashing. Flying is statistically safer than being on the ground. Number 13, the rear of the aircraft is safer in case of an incident. The rear of the aircraft is considered safer. A study by Popular Mechanics concluded that passengers seated near the tail of the plane have up to a 40% higher chance of survival in accidents compared to those in the front. To be more specific, research from the University of Greenwich indicates that passengers seated in rows 2 to 5, counting from the seats near the emergency exit to the wing, have a greater chance of survival. Passengers seated from row 6 onward, considering the distance from the emergency exit, have significantly lower survival chances, especially in cases of fire and emergency situations. Furthermore, one crucial piece of advice during an airplane accident is to abandon personal belongings. Trying to retrieve all your possessions can cause delays and hinder the evacuation process. Keep both hands free to remove obstacles when running, and cover your nose and mouth to avoid inhaling smoke. Number 12. White smoke trails left by planes can be used for weather forecasting. These white trails only appear when the plane is flying at a certain altitude, typically 10,000 meters or above. At this altitude, the temperature and air pressure are very low. The temperature difference causes water vapor from the aircraft engines to condense and freeze, creating long, winding white contrails. Not all white smoke trails created by airplanes are the same. Sometimes they form a long streak across the sky, while other times they quickly dissipate. Based on these differences, we can make weather predictions. Thin, quickly disappearing trails indicate low humidity, signaling a sunny day. Thick, long-lasting trails suggest highly moist atmospheric conditions, predicting upcoming thunderstorms or a storm. Number 11. Food on the plane tastes unusual. When you are at an altitude of 9,000 meters, the aircraft cabin has low air pressure, dry air, low humidity, and high noise levels. All these factors affect your sense of smell and taste. Your mouth and nose may become dry, and your taste buds may experience numbness, reducing the ability to taste salty or sweet flavors. Airlines try to compensate for this by adding extra salt and sugar, but it's still not enough to eliminate the dullness. Additionally, the noise on the plane significantly impacts the enjoyment of the food. Research indicates that loud noise affects the ability to taste sweetness. So, if the airplane food doesn't taste good and doesn't suit your palate, don't complain. It's just because the flavors of the dishes change when flying at high altitudes. Number 10. Pouring mercury on a plane can cause damage. Since airplanes are primarily constructed with aluminum, mercury can break down the chemical structure of aluminum. Therefore, you should be careful about the items you bring on a flight. This also explains the reasonable suspicion of various governments during World War II when attempting to sabotage enemy planes by applying mercury. Number 9. You cannot open the door while the plane is in flight. At least you don't have to worry about any crazy plotting to open the door while the plane is flying. In reality, the door can only be opened from the inside when the plane is on the ground, taxiing, or parked. When the plane is in flight, especially at a certain altitude, usually above 10,000 meters, the pressure inside the plane is significantly high, making it impossible to open the airplane door. No one is strong enough to open a locked door under such pressure. Moreover, the airplane door is designed for absolute safety, requiring multiple steps to open it. Specifically, the door is designed to have the outward-facing side smaller than the inward-facing side of the cabin. This makes it impossible for someone inside to push the tightly sealed door open from the inside. If you ever want to try opening an airplane door, or are afraid someone might try to open it during a flight, rest assured, it's impossible. Number 8. The temperature on the plane is usually low. Have you ever wondered why it's often chilly on airplanes? The temperature inside the passenger cabin typically ranges from 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. In reality, there are several important reasons to maintain a lower temperature in airplane cabins. This temperature is maintained based on a scientific principle. The American Society for Testing and Materials published a study indicating that warmer cabin temperatures could increase the risk of passengers fainting. The research shows that people are more prone to fainting on airplanes compared to being on the ground, primarily due to hypoxia. Hypoxia is a condition that frequently occurs in airline passengers where the body cells don't receive an adequate amount of oxygen. Therefore, maintaining a warmer cabin temperature could elevate the risk of passengers fainting. The flight crew always keeps the temperature inside the cabin cooler to mitigate this risk, and a temperature range of 20 to 24 degrees Celsius is considered reasonable. Number 7. Thunderstorms don't affect airplanes. According to global statistics, on average, for every 3,000 flight hours, an airplane is struck by lightning once. Lightning usually hits planes with engines located at the rear. However, if a plane is struck in midair, thunder and lightning will not affect the aircraft during flight. Inside the aircraft structure, there is a metal mesh. This is a fine steel mesh that prevents external currents from penetrating deeply and redirects them. Additionally, the aircraft's fuselage is designed with multiple shielding layers to protect it from electrical shocks originating from outside. All these components are thoroughly inspected before being put into operation. Therefore, you don't need to worry about airplanes being struck by lightning during flights in stormy weather. Number 6. Airplane windows are always circular in shape. In a secret from the early days, airplane windows were square or rectangular. Later they transitioned to circular or oval shapes. Why is that? The sharp corners of square windows are a weak point because it is where pressure concentrates, making them susceptible to weakening under air pressure. Under continuous pressure, the four corners of square windows on airplanes become a nightmare, making the aircraft prone to cracks and breakage. Circular or oval windows, on the other hand, have no concentration point of weakness, allowing for better distribution of pressure and minimizing the risk of cracking or breaking. The circular shape is also a more robust form, resisting pressure-induced changes in shape better, and therefore, can withstand the pressure difference between the outside and inside of the airplane. Number 5. When landing, cabin lights dim gradually. Many people must wonder why, when airplanes touch down at night, the crew gradually dims the lights inside the cabin, and the airplane's lighting system starts to fade. This is to ensure that in emergency evacuation situations, passengers and crew can adapt to darkness and move more quickly. Opening airplane windows also serves a similar purpose. Passengers get accustomed to natural light, while flight attendants can assess the situation outside better. Before knowing this, I used to think that the lights were lowered to help passengers relax, but it turns out that's not the case at all. Number 4. Water tanks on airplanes are actually very dirty. The number of bacteria in the water supply on these flights is often, if not hundreds of times higher than the allowed levels in the United States. The water tanks on airplanes might not receive much attention and can become reservoirs for harmful bacteria, which flight attendants often use to make coffee and tea during flights. When the aircraft lands at the airport, and due to time constraints, the water tanks on airplanes may not be completely emptied and cleaned. Water is only added to the tanks after each flight, leaving a certain amount of old water at the bottom of the tank. According to a 2004 study, the FAA tested airlines and found that 15% of them were positive for coliform bacteria. After learning this information, I wonder if you would still dare to drink water while flying. Most airplanes are painted white. Although not all, most airplanes are painted white. The purpose of this is believed to accumulate as little heat as possible. In addition, white is considered less expensive, providing economic benefits for airlines. On the other hand, airplane paint is a special type of paint. White paint is lighter than other colors. Airplanes are very large, and white paint can reduce a few hundred kilograms of their weight compared to colored paint, equivalent to the weight of about 8 people. Just white paint solves the entire economic equation. Isn't that amazing? Furthermore, aviation experts believe that painting airplanes white helps prevent collisions with birds and makes any issues with the airplane more easily detectable during inspections to minimize accidents. Number 3. Airplane windows are designed to be extremely strong. You might think that airplane windows are simply pieces of glass, but they are actually made of multiple layers of acrylic plastic, which makes them very durable. The outer layer is designed to withstand the pressure difference between the inside and outside of the aircraft. When flying at cruising altitude, the pressure inside the cabin is significantly higher than outside, which means the windows must be able to handle this difference without breaking. In fact, airplane windows are tested rigorously to ensure they can withstand the extreme conditions of flight. This ensures passenger safety and comfort. Number 2. Pilots are not allowed to have beards or large scars. Have you noticed that pilots usually don't have beards? It's not about looking good, there's a deeper reason for this. If a pilot has a beard, the oxygen mask cannot seal tightly to the face. In emergency situations where an oxygen mask is needed, a proper seal is crucial to protect passengers. In addition, as the aircraft ascends, the air pressure decreases. In these conditions, the human body expands, making large scars more prone to tearing. If the aircraft experiences a problem with the air compressor, large scars on a pilot's body may not withstand the pressure and could rupture and bleed. Number 1. Airplanes harbor a lot of bacteria. Microbiologists have pointed out that tray tables are the dirtiest places on an airplane, placed right in front of passengers and used for food. Tray tables contain 2,155 bacteria per square centimeter. A flight attendant has also shared that passengers often change diapers on tray tables, and not all tray tables are thoroughly cleaned during the entire journey. Furthermore, airline staff only use one cleaning cloth to wipe down surfaces from row 1 to row 35. In addition, the blankets and pillows provided on flights are very dirty, as they are washed only once and reused throughout all journeys of the day. We've just explored 25 airline industry secrets that no one has ever told you about. If you are impressed by any secret, feel free to comment and let us know your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to our channel to be the first to watch the latest videos. Now goodbye and see you in the next video.